Hi, Dorley, dear. Shavua Tov. I'm not sure if you were there with us on the market tour. It was fun. It was really sweet. A lot of dumplings and cute animal butts, and just one fluffy, very, very fluffy dog, and just a lot of talented people, and a very good stracciatella, side-dried tomatoes, and Oscar with pants on. He managed to keep his pants on throughout the tour. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, so this is the Sarajishvili house in the heart of Saloniki neighborhood, and I swear I will be taking you to Saloniki again. There is still so much more that I haven't shown you yet. Some more lobbies, some more local businesses opened, some reopened, and a couple of buildings that have undergone some restoration. So I can't wait to take it there, but it's going to be in a probably couple of maybe a month from now. Anyway, and we're definitely going to be passing by Sarajishvili house on one of those Saloniki tours, I promise. But also, I am planning after we're done with Sarajishvili house, that's David Sarajishvili. You can also come across his name as David with a T in the end, which is a Georgian way of spelling David is like universal, but it's the same name anyway. And I'm planning to take it to another after the Sarajishvili house, and it's also a writer's house. So it's not going to happen like very soon, probably in a couple tours. In a couple of weeks from now, I'm taking you to a home of another amazing Georgian poet. And I have spoken a lot about him and even recited some of his poetry. Ilya Chavchavadze. Yeah, so that's the plan. Anyway, so David Sarajishvili. All of you were there last week with me, but well, I have shared the recording anyway. So I will be given a very short recap because we are going to start again with the tour in the house just to see the let's say some of the photos from the old times and just a little bit of the entrance, and then we will be heading upstairs because the downstairs we have already walked in. The house was built in 1905. It was finished in 1905, and it was designed by a German architect, Karl Czar, but it was constructed on the site by two really big, one of the biggest and most expensive architects, Ozerov and Cornelius Tatishev, and Ozerov. So these two, well, I don't really know whether the two architects had ever worked together on any other project before or after. Probably not. I think in a way there was kind of competition between them, but when it got to Sarajishvili, I guess nobody cared about the competition because everyone just, well, both of them, I'm sure, were absolutely honored to be given such a commission. Anyway, look at this house. So it has never really been, the facade has never really been restored like big time because it's decorated with the natural stone, and it's the most expensive. It's probably 3 times as expensive as it would have been with just regular plaster, but at the end of the day, it has saved so much time and nerves everyone because there's no need to redo the facades with, well, plaster. So it's amazing. This is what the street looked like end of the 19th century. And the mountain, I'm sure you can recognize also this is the a building of one of the, it's not on Tatsmin, the mountain, no, it's Salalaki. It's one of the buildings that used to be the administration of the botanical garden, because behind that mountain range, there is the botanical garden where you, Oscar, have already been enjoying the lilacs and mating frogs, I think, right? So some of photographs. So, well, this is the most posh and the most expensive neighborhood. In the Soviet times, it looked like that. This is like 1930s. And in the Soviet period, Sarajishvili house, just, well, there's no way the name could still be there because Sarajishvili was a capitalist. So no, 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 no. But this was the writer's house. Throughout the Soviet period, it was the writer's house. Well, with certain, I would say, breaks, but anyway. And you also see that in the same street, just buildings like very close to it, the British Forces Transcaucasia, the headquarters intelligence, basically the entire street was full of the British intelligence forces. And this was the time, the short period of British mandate is kind of unofficial, but a lot of historians claim that there was kind of a French mandate and British mandate in Georgia after the collapse of the Russian Empire. And it was kind of a transition period to ensure that the independence of Georgia would be reached and would be established. It was this kind of support that was absolutely essential for the country to stand up from their knees, right? Something like that. Anyway, so just a little bit of the decoration. Some photos are mine, some photos are from the internet. I don't know, I think I've been there altogether more than 10 times, and whenever I'm there I film as if I've never been there before, something like that. Well, the house is gorgeous, it's really eclectic, and the number of people this house has welcomed over the course of this 120 years is absolutely striking. From the richest people in the Russian Empire and the smartest people and the most talented people in Georgia, to British ambassadors, German spies, Soviet poets and writers, Soviet administration, and a lot of other people. So it's just incredible. Jean-Baptiste Camus, what he's doing here? Well, the Camus cognac, right? So the founder of the Camus cognac brand is the one who actually taught Sarajishvili how to make a cognac or brandy. And Sarajishvili, I'm not going to repeat his biography. I'll just be giving more information as the tour goes. And today we will see some more photographs and we'll see some artifacts. But yeah, Sarajishvili, who one may say, and rightly so, Sarajishvili was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. That is true. He was given from the best, well, from the very early childhood, the best education, best teachers, and lots of opportunities. This is true. But he could have been just doing it all for himself to multiply his wealth. And he could have just as well stayed in France, where he went to study to obtain 2 degrees, one in chemistry and one in, I forgot, but one definitely chemistry. I think it's, well, anyway, so what is important for us is chemistry. And he realized that there was so much potential in Georgia and there was so much grapes in Georgia, but there had not been an industry of winemaking. The school of winemaking was there, but it was also so unorganized, and everything was made in a very, I would say, primitive way. I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but that's how it was. Pretty much rural, pretty much rough in many ways. So the country was really badly underdeveloped. So apart from just, well, making money on launching the wine industry, Sarajishvili also wanted to give something to his country to help it develop. So that's why Sarajishvili is known as just, yeah, okay, a very rich businessman with a clear talent, a gift for making money, also a very good manager, but a great philanthropist, the supporter of the talented people of Georgia, and not just talented, actually anyone. His, well, from what we know, his house was literally open all the time. And if anyone needed help, like financial aid or anything, Sarajishvili was there to help. Obviously, well, that's what it says in literature, but you kind of you get the idea. So one could find some help in within these walls, and especially the writers and poets. Sarajishvili had something for literature. He was a great admirer and a great supporter of Georgian artists as well. And also he donated incredible sums of money for the establishment of the university, and a lot of research facilities aimed at preservation of the Georgian language and folk music. We will be talking about all of that. So, Maria, I don't remember now. Sorry, maybe philosophy. It just slipped my mind. I remember that for the last for the previous tour of this one. I just don't remember. I'm so sorry. This could be stracciatella in me, but this is not really relevant. What is relevant is that this house was built for, well, one may think that he probably had a big family, right? And well, rightly so, because usually Georgian families were very big. But no, they didn't have children with his wife, Elena Porakishvili. There were the two of them. But this house was kind of a present for the, well, for his wife. It was built to celebrate the anniversary, their wedding anniversary. And from the very beginning, they knew that this house would be accommodating a lot of people. I mean, not in terms of, providing, place to sleep and live in, which also happened, by the way, but not during the time of Sarajishvili, but later in the Soviet period. But it was, well, continuous gatherings, performances, literature salons, and whatnot. Upstairs, the second floor is actually, it's kind of split, because you see a lot of rooms, but not all of them are actually open to public, and not all of them have the interiors. So partly it's the museum and actually the treasury of the house, and partly it's the also the museum of Georgian writers that were severely oppressed during the Soviet time. But this is going to be a separate talk. It's not going to be now. Today, we're still focusing on Sarajishvili. And we have some family photographs. We have, for example, there's also a photo of this very room in the upper right-hand corner. And you can see that the room looks actually the same. What I know is that the billiard table is not original. So that something happened to the original one. I assume someone from the Soviet administration just took it because they could. But other than that, it's the same room, the same interior, the same doors, stained glass, and whatnot. You can also see his portrait together with his wife in the lower left-hand corner. And also the photograph, like in the lower level, there is a photograph of a man and a woman. It's a small one. Well, this is their engagement photograph. So this house was built as as a wedding anniversary gift. It's just a very good anniversary gift. And everything in this house was made from the best materials. Everything, even the doorknobs, even the handles, even the locks, were all designed by Karl Tsar, especially for David Sarajishvili. We can also see Elena Porakishvili, his wife, and the photograph in the center is it was taken after the kind of the inauguration of the house, with the personnel, with servants and everyone. And we will probably see this photo again. And this is the balcony with a beautiful garden, which is a restaurant. And this restaurant, by the way, got a Michelin star, I think, a couple of years ago. That's the Villeroy Boch tiles. that were designed in a very actually very limited numbers. The similar tiles were on Titanic, as I told you, and it's like it's the proven irrefutable fact. So there are actually several exclusive designs by Villeroy Boch or Villeroy Boch in this house, and also Murano glass in other rooms, and rock crystal and French rhinestones and whatnot. So because Sarajishvili could, he built factories across the Russian Empire and Georgia, warehouses, um, properties of all sorts, and also transportation channels. He had thousands and thousands of people working for him, and he was the first one to provide humane, very good working conditions for the people. We will be talking about it as well as the tour goes. So the house now functions as both the museum of David Sarajishvili, the museum of the Georgian writers, and it's still a writer's house. So a lot of events are held here on a regular basis. Also, there are a lot of items on display that have nothing to do with Sarajishvili, but are related to the house. Photographs of writers and poets. So we will be talking about some of them in the upcoming tours. I haven't scheduled any tour yet, but I will. I just need to see how the timing works. Just to schedule it, I would say in the most convenient hour. This lamp, for example, was given to Sarajishvili Museum quite recently, definitely way after the events of the early 20th century. The lamp used to belong to Zakaria Paliashvili, who was one of the greatest Georgian composers. And it wasn't just about literature, it was about music, it was about fine arts, it was about everything. So Sarajishvili was clearly, as it says here, was a kind of a Renaissance man. That's without doubt. Absolutely. A pure Renaissance man who never spared funds to support people. He was one of the most generous men I've ever really heard of, at least with regards to the Russian Empire. Yeah. Anyway, this is kind of a family corner. This is the old furniture, the original furniture that was made for this particular house. So even the furniture was made to measure. These are the photographs in their original frames. So this is the Sarajishvili. It's one of the parties in the Sarajishvili house that was thrown, well, almost right after the inauguration of the house. You can imagine that the wealthiest, the most influential, the most powerful people of Tbilisi just gathered in one place. I mean, look at that. But it wasn't just the most wealthy, but also some of the most respected. For example, this man to the left with a beard is Akaki Teriteli. Oh, I think I've just said it with a very Georgian accent. Akaki Teriteli. Okay, I'm picking up. I already can read a little bit in Georgian, but it's still, I'm not really learning the language. I'm focusing on other things at the moment. Well, but it kind of somehow just gets to me. Akaki Teriteri was also one of the pillars of the Georgian liberation movement, the Georgian language preservation movement, and one of the voices of the nation. It's like there is Ilya, the Ilya Chavchavadze, he's not in the photo, and it's like Akaki. The two names, great Georgian people from history go just by their first names, and everyone knows when you say Ilya, that's the Chavchavadze. When it's Akaki, it's Teriteli, and you get the point. Like this is like the creme de la creme of the Georgian society. We will be talking about some of those people as the tour goes, and a little close-up of the of this space. As I said, the table is not original, the one we have nowadays, but it's here. Other than that, it's pretty much looking the same way. The stained glass at the staircase, we will see more of it. I remember it. Sharon really wanted to see it, so we're going to have a better look at it. But at the moment, and also you could see a photo of a church. I just kind of briefly going back there in the most right one. It's a church, a special church. We will be talking about it as well. So over here on this table is now used as one of the kind of explication spots. It actually shows you the map of like all the warehouse change, the system that was elaborated under Sarajishvili. So he had warehouses and plans, Baku, St. Petersburg, Moscow, Warsaw, Odessa, Kiev, Theodosia, Chanjo, Samara, and a lot of also like agencies, like the shipment centers, the supply hubs as well in the important cities. And in 1902, for all this, contribution and also financial contribution, of course, he was awarded the title of Council of Commerce, which is the highest title a Georgian member of nobility could get. That was a big deal. So he was known and respected in St. Petersburg. However, it's only after his death then his company was awarded the title of the supplier of the court. It was already after he passed away. He passed away in 1911 from, it's kind of a bag of different diseases that he unfortunately suffered from. And it was under his wife, because his wife took over the business after he passed away, and she managed, and it was she who managed to get him the title. A lot of people question why he hadn't been given this title earlier, which is, I would say, a good question. Some claim it's that simply because there were a lot of other aristocrats that had been learning to produce wine, that had started producing wine, and they were kind of more affiliated with, well, still kind of affiliated, but there was like a lot more interest and personal relations with them than with Sarajishvili. So they were like Russian nobility, and that's Georgian nobility. That's still, even though Georgian nobility was given totally same perks and they were entitled to absolutely the same things, but it's still not just completely the same. Yes. So speaking of this wall, well, the stained glass, it had to be restored. It was damaged during the Soviet period. I don't know exactly what happened to it. And obviously I took a private tour of the house to learn these things, and I was recommended some literature. So I've been told by a tour guide that Sarajishvili liked to sit by the wall, like exactly facing the staircase and the stained glass image. And so according to what I've heard, this design was completely inspired and developed by Sarajishvili and Karl Czar, the architect, the German architect, the author of the project. And it was, so Sarajishvili was inspired after his trip to Italy together with his wife, and he would just sit in this room facing the window. That was like his favorite spot in the house. So that's what I have been told. No idea, but well, it sounds very much. It sounds really true to me, because it's a lovely stained glass and it's a lovely space. And yeah, I can clearly picture Sarajishvili sitting there reading a book, or I don't know, in a rocking chair maybe, something like that. Or there was a sofa and a little tea table, so it could be that as well. Could be just that furniture, yeah, easily, like that one over there. Yeah, but we are in for a treat because we are now in the treasury. It's not the official name, or we could just say it's a Moorish room because it was super trendy, you know, for Moorish rooms to be there, and then in the every fully fledged aristocratic mansion. And this room used to be even more gorgeous. You can see a big photo of Elena Porokishvili. There used to be a gigantic sofa, like Ottoman sofa, but the sofa is gone, but the room is still there. The decoration, the ceiling decoration is still there with mukarnas, with this kind of stalactite-like niches along the frieze. It's and yeah, and the art, so I like it. It's a kind of a Moorish ceiling, but Art Nouveau stained glass in the door design, and also in this photo you can see that the door is also has a lot of like glass elements in it. Like it's all looking really amazing, breathtaking, the colors and everything. Some bits of the upholstery have survived, but not entirely. And the fireplace, I'm just lost for words. On the one hand, okay, there's not really much here, but what we have, almost everything is memorial. Well, you see the door, nearly every door in the house used to have this pink glass, and this is not just glass, it's Murano glass. Can you imagine just having doors inlaid with Murano glass? And when we come closer, we will see that on top there is a heart, because it's the wedding anniversary house. For our wedding anniversary, for the most recent wedding anniversary, like last year in August, Misha cooked really good pasta. That was it. And Sarajishvili built a house for his wife. Yeah. Not that I'm complaining. No, no, no. Definitely not. I spent about 60 minutes in just that room. So okay, let's start from the beginning. This is their photograph together with Ekaterina Porokishvili. Ekaterina Porokishvili was also from the noble family. It's both families were quite well to do. And technically speaking, Elena Porokishvili didn't need to do anything, but she was always next to David Sarajishvili. She often traveled with him to Europe for different business trips. She was always present at events. She wasn't just like sit-at-home woman. This was not. She was not really a housewife. She was very active, and because of her constant involvement altogether, agricultural science. Okay, so agricultural scientist, the practical aspects of winemaking. So he left Germany in 1867 to continue education in Munich and Heidelberg, philosophy and chemistry. So Maria, you were right. Good job. So you remember philosophy and chemistry. And then as he stayed in Germany for more, and then he also traveled to France, so he realized that there was this great potential that he could use in well, making brandy, because we'll just imagine there are several hundreds of endemic kinds of grapes in Georgia. This is incredible. No other country in the world can boast that. And yet, up until late 19th century, there was no really winemaking industry. Yeah. So it's just that. So also over here, the photograph to the left, it's young Sarajishvili. And I don't know who that woman is, to be honest. I have no idea. And the photograph to the right is the fellow students, so the gentleman that started together with Sarajishvili. These photographs, by the way, are super rare, and I haven't seen them anywhere else online. not even in the book. So I believe it's also the property of the foundation. This is the custom-made porcelain set from Europe, from France, if I'm not mistaken. And this monogram is in Georgian. It's D and S, David Sarajishvili. And just for you to have an idea, that the set was made for 200 people. And it was not the only porcelain set. So they knew they were preparing for something big. They were ready. They were ready and they were happy. They were always welcoming, always very good hosts. Well, I'm saying it as if I had been there myself. No, but that's what I read from multiple sources. Yeah, so this is the Elena Porokishvili in this room. So the sofa is over there. What I meant is that the back side of it with a big rug, well, it's not here anymore. Other than that, it's the same room. A lot of items you see on the shelf above her head are still in the room. It's mainly items brought from Europe, souvenirs, some Georgian pottery as well, and a lot coming from, well, something coming from Africa too. Also, a lot of Georgian horns and also Georgian vessels for wine. And there are so many kinds of different vessels for wine in Georgia, and they all have names. Obviously, this is this kind of a language relativism. Here, that's exactly what I was talking about. We will talk about the fate of this house after Sarajishvili really passed away and the revolution came. We will talk about it. So this is kind of a close-up look on these Murano glass details. Here they are. So there's a little heart over there, and you see how color changes from like dark pink to almost like white. That's Elena. They didn't have children. So all those writers and poets and artists, in a way, were their children. In a way. Also rock crystal set, also with a monogram. Another set of porcelain. This one, I believe, is from Moscow. But there was also one from France. And this type of sets, they obviously don't show everything they have. It's just several items for the display purposes, but there's also storage. And so what I've been told by the tour guide, that the porcelain sets are in a very good condition, and they are almost in like the full set. It's almost there. We'll talk about the suitcase later on. We'll talk about all these things. On the wall, you can see the will. After Sarajishvili died, so Sarajishvili left a will. And these numbers are actually the sums of rubles. Well, because Georgia was part of the Russian Empire, the official currency was ruble. This is the sums of money that Sarajishvili decided to leave to different Georgian organizations. Well, like, for example, 500,000 rubles Sarajishvili donated to the Society for the Spreading of Literacy among Georgians, because apart from just being underdeveloped, it was also, well, very well, a small percentage of population actually could read and write. And altogether, like, I've stopped here for you so you could just look through it. It was, well, overall about 3 million rubles that were donated by Sarajishvili. And it was not the last money. It was not like everything the family had. And 3 million rubles at that time, it was millions of dollars. Big deal. Maybe around, well, it's very difficult to convert, but there was a lot of money. There was a lot of money in dollars, I mean. Well, and you can see also theater society, like a drama society, artists, different research facilities, and also his wife inherited the business, which she, being a talented manager herself, managed to multiply. And so she's the one who finally got the title for the official supplier of the court. And that's her will. After she passed away, that was her will. Also, a lot of zeros. Sorry for that. Remember, I showed you the church in the on the second floor. As we just went up the stairs, next to the billiard table there was a wall with a photograph. So there was one church in the photograph. This is the church that is now that stands on the Rustaveli Avenue, the Kashweji church. So Sarajishvili bought the land for the church construction and well, donated significant sum of money for the construction, for the purchase of construction materials and everything. And it's now one of the most important, meaningful churches in Georgia, in the entire country. I'm not kidding. And the striking thing is that Sarajishvili and his wife are buried next to the church, right next to the church. Originally, Sarajishvili, sorry, something in my throat. Originally, Sarajishvili was buried in a different cemetery. It's called the Didube Pantheon. The cemetery is still there, but it looks a little different, starting from the Soviet period. But it's actually a cemetery that was developed, opened before the revolution. And he was buried there. His wife was buried there. But in the Soviet times, under the Soviet government, the Didube Cemetery, which were definitely going to be in the neighborhood. I'm not really keen on doing tours of cemeteries, but we might be seeing some of it because there is something to see in that area as well, and we have never been there before with you, so we'll see how it's going to work. I will see. I will go there and check things myself. So during the Soviet period, the Didube Cemetery was turned into the cemetery for all those party officials, the Bolsheviks, it was kind of the Soviet VIP cemetery. Sounds really interesting. So they didn't have children, but there were some relatives of Sarajishvili's. And the Soviet officials reached out to the relatives and told them to exhume the bodies and rebury Sarajishvili and his wife somewhere else. These people had no money at all, but they remembered that there was a legend in the family saying that Sarajishvili was buried with a gigantic diamond ring on his finger. And when the coffin and when the tomb was opened, they saw the ring. He took the ring and he managed to sell it somehow. The story doesn't really provide details. and they had enough money, and eventually Sarajishvili eventually was buried next to the church that he had, well, almost literally built himself. It was built with his money. Well, the university, Tbilisi State University, which I have only just, I don't even think I have actually even showed it on my tours, because it was never, well, maybe just maybe once, but we never really walked next to it. We never really talked about the Javakishvili University. Well, it's now named after Javakishvili, who was well, a great Georgian historian and a philosopher, with a teacher. So the university, the land for the university was purchased, well, not in its entirety, but partly was purchased with Sarajishvili's money. And this was the first university in the entire Georgia that was built. Also, here is the list, just some names that of the people that were supported by Sarajishvili, with also private, what do you call it, scholarships. I don't know why this thing just completely slipped my mind. So there were regular scholarships that Sarajishvili just issued himself to all those people. Maybe some of these names are familiar to you because I have taken you to some streets named after them. Because, like, okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5, no, 6 names. Actually, there are streets named at least after 6 of these people, probably more. I will just briefly speak about some of them. Well, this name I have spoken about when we did the tour of the Art Palace of Tbilisi, the Oldenburg Palace, right? I showed you paintings by Gigol Gabashvili, who is well, he is, like, Pirosmani is probably the greatest and the most, well, definitely the most popular Georgian artist. So Gigol Gabashvili was the Georgia's first professional artist. Like, he was educated to be an artist, and he also studied in Europe, and then he returned. He studied in St. Petersburg Academy of Arts, so you get the point. So he was like professional artist, and he was the first professional artist from Georgia. Well, it says like the founder of the Georgian realist painting school, but to me it's not even about realism. I think it's more than that. It's really, I really like Gabashvili's works, and there's so much authenticity in them. And he particularly liked, so he studied a lot Orientalism. So he, in a way, it's like realism and Orientalism in art, but it's more than that. I also think he was super hot, but that's irrelevant, right? But he was really talented, and he really, really loved painting, like really, like big, massive, complicated scenes. A lot of a lot of Middle Eastern vibes you can see there, and the colors. And I think he was really good with like portraits, battle scenes, seascapes. I don't know. I think it's really incredible. Also, this is the battle somewhere in the mountains in Svaneti region. I can say that because these towers are just the purely Svanetian watchtowers high in the mountains. It definitely was one of the battles. And you feel the motion here. You feel the tension, the motion. And I just absolutely like the colors. And this looks so, to me, to be honest, to me, it looks some, I don't know, maybe I'm just, maybe it's just me, but it looks a little impressionistic to me. A Georgian woman. And look how much attention he paid to fabrics, to colors, to the way the fabric folded. You can see that, and you can tell that, okay, that's silk, and how it shines, and how it's folded, and how it how it lays right and on the body, and the lovely veil. It's cute. It's really great. It's really great. And yes, so we have also Gabashvili was, because he also studied that. It wasn't just done for, let's say, for the sake of decoration, like the colors or the outfit of the glove that people are wearing, but he was actually very accurate in depicting the scenes. So we can even study, let's say, the way people dressed back in the day. So this is just called bazaar, the market. And well, this is a really bad quality photograph. I haven't been able to find actually a very high resolution photo. I don't really know why. It's ridiculous, but um this painting was well, the copy of this painting, just give me a second, I will give you the name of it in English, because I forgot it in English. I just want to be um I want to be accurate about it. Hey, hold on. So it was, no, in English. I want it in English. The Bazaar in Samarkand. So that's the name. Yeah. So the copy of this painting was commissioned by Charles Richard Crane, who was an American businessman and also Orientalist, specializing in Middle Eastern studies. He traveled to Georgia during the independence period, almost immediately after the collapse of the Russian Empire, and he stayed in Tbilisi. He saw this painting in one of the homes of Georgian aristocrats, and he met Gabashvili and commissioned a copy of this painting, and he took it with him when he was ready, or it was delivered to him, I'm not sure, but well, he had the copy. And then several years ago, it's actually written in Wikipedia, but I came across this information somewhere else. It was sold for $1.36 million at Christie's in 2006, which I think is super impressive. So without Sarajishvili's support, there probably wouldn't have been such an artist, even, Giga Gabashvili, because, well, the studies needed a lot of funding, a lot of support. And or, for example, the last person I'm going to be talking about, because Misha is now about to start his tour on Russian literature, but just the last person is Iya Kargaratelli, who was the collector of Georgian folk songs, especially polyphony, the lyrics of the songs, the way it sounded. It required some equipment. He had to travel across the country to the smallest villages, talk to people, record the songs, people singing, writing down lyrics of the songs. And nobody had actually done that before him, almost no one. And obviously no one had recorded it, like for the future generations. That required money, expenses for travels, equipment, the maintenance of the equipment and everything. So it was all done only thanks to the donations and the scholarship of Sarajishvili. So Kagadatel is, by the way, the street in which the Oldenburg Palace is located. So the art palace, right? Okay, I think this is where we are wrapping this up. You see, there were so many stories I wanted to share, so many teeny tiny details that we have not even seen everything in this gorgeous room. So I call it the treasury. There is some, more treasures just yet to see. I am opening the chat for your questions and also to share with you the links. So Misha's tour is to begin in 5 minutes from now. It's going to be about Ivan Bunin and Vladimir Nabokov literature, especially 1920s, 1930s, because this is the period Misha is now focusing on his tours about, well, Russian/Soviet literature. So I'm sharing the links over here. Thank you so much, Dolly. Thank you, dear. Thank you, number 2. So for those of you who missed us live with Oscar at the market, at the teeny tiny market where we spent 70 minutes and didn't even notice that how time had flown, the recording is already available. You know, it's available instantaneously. Thank you so much, Dolly. I'm glad it was fun. So you can just catch it up whenever you have time and feel like, if you feel like. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. And then after a short break, I'll be taking you to Jerusalem. Sorry, not Jerusalem this time. Tel Aviv, right? I'm taking you to the American German colony to wrap up the story, see the museum and the lovely Lutheran church as well. Thank you so much for your interest in this tour. Thank you so much for joining all these different tours that I take you on. And I'm so happy that I can share these beauties of Georgia with you, because I see my goal is, I don't see myself as a tour guide in Georgia, but I see myself as a promoter of Georgia in a way, because there's so much still really not known about this country. It's so, I don't know, maybe it's also for the better. It's like a little bit underrated, unspoiled, which is good, but I feel like more people should know about all these things. So many details and so many people involved, indeed. And I cannot just say, oh, this is Kargaratelli, or, this is just a big Georgian poet, so, I don't know, Chavchavadze, and that's it. No, it requires, some more context, Thank you so much for joining. Misha is about to begin in a couple of minutes from now. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your support. Thank you for those who have already donated. Thank you for the coffees, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.